July 7th. Here we are. We're past the mid-year mark and we are happy to be here. And look, we've got a full crowd today. Wow. We're glad to have you all here. Busy in the chat and everything. Boy, we've got quite a crowd. Welcome, welcome. Alexa, glad to have you. And let's introduce everyone. We're going to change up our schedule today. As you see, we've got some important and highfalutin guests. So let's go. We have Greg Keller. I'm sure a lot of you know Greg, one of our co-founders. We've got Scott Engstrom, our brand new Chief Engineering Officer. He's not brand new, just a new title, and we're excited to debut that. And Bob is back with us. So Bob Fan, our Chief Information Security Officer. And yes, we are going to have a chat today about some things that have been going on that you all are looking forward to hearing us talk about. So with that, Bob, we know you have some things to tell us about. So welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Glad you invited me.
Yeah. So we know a lot of our attendees have probably seen some stuff on social and in the press regarding a recent incident at Jump Cloud concerning some API keys. So can you give us an update on what people should know and are probably wanting to know?
Absolutely. I prepared a few remarks, but I'll also be happy to take questions at the end. I think the most important thing folks need to know is on July 5th at 3:35 UTC, my team did discover some anomalous activity that related to a very small and specific set of customers. As soon as we detected that, we decided to take decisive and prudent action. That's why we immediately initiated a thread to get all of the API keys rotated while we continued our investigation to assert that it was just limited to that small and specific set of customers. I am happy to say at this point in time that I have high confidence that our data is correct and it is only that small set. For that small set, we have already contacted them. So if you've not been in a meeting with myself and our executive staff, you are not part of that set of customers.
Great. However, there were some broad communications sent out with a lot of other steps for our customers to take.
Yes. And we believe those actions are actions that anyone should take if one of their vendors are experiencing a security incident. It's the advice I give to Jump Cloud if any of our vendors were to experience a security incident. This is an active and ongoing investigation. There are always unknown unknowns involved. These are prudent steps that you could take to protect yourselves. I would like to recommend them to you in the same way that I recommend them to my own company.
Great. So what else should listeners know right now?
You should know what was in the email. So I'm going to reiterate some points that you may have already heard. On July 5th, 3:35 UTC, our security teams discovered anomalous activity concerning a very small and specific set of customer organizations. Again, we have directly spoken with each of these customers, and we are working very closely with them on their incident response plan. If you have not already been directly contacted by our executive team regarding this incident, we have no evidence to suggest that you have been impacted, and I have fairly high confidence in the quality of the data that we have produced around impacted customers. However, it is an active investigation. I want to make sure that we're being very transparent about that. So we did take that immediate action to invalidate API keys, and we will be recommending prudent actions to all of our customers as we complete our investigation.
So you also recommended some other steps in your recent communications. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Again, if any of your vendors ever experience a security incident, in my opinion, the most prudent thing to do is immediately rotate all static credentials you have associated with that vendor. That is what I'm recommending you to do out of an abundance of caution. I have no data to suggest that you are at risk right now, but we are continuing to investigate. and we may learn more in the future. I have high confidence in the data that we have today, but that does not change my recommendation. It's the same recommendation I would give to you and the same recommendation I would give to JumpCloud itself.
Okay. We have a guide called Recommended Practices for Securing Administrator and User Accounts. And we were going to share that, and we recommend that all users, all customers follow these practices. Alexa, if you would share that in the chat, so people can follow that. And one thing we were going to talk about was MFA and how we at JumpCloud were going to help with that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, we strongly recommend that customers add MFA to every endpoint possible. MFA is an excellent protection against any kind of malicious activity. We are going to be making our JumpCloud MFA solution free for all customers effective today. We have a great guide for configuring it, which will be linked to you.
Great. Yeah, Alexa, if you can share that in the chat as well. One thing, Bob, that most companies recommend after an incident is password rotation or updates. And I think we've seen a couple of things in the chat about that. What's your advice?
My advice is everyone should have a rotation policy for end user passwords. And if you want to pull that up, I'm not going to dissuade you. However, at this point in time, we believe that strong, long passwords, which are automatically protected by our platform with one-way hashing functions and backed by MFA, are, that is a good protection. At this point in time, I'm not strongly encouraging people to go ahead and rotate passwords, but I'm not going to dissuade you if you want to pull up your rotation schedule.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about one-way hashing and MFA, is JumpCloud going to be enforcing any of that shortly?
We will be placing additional security defaults into customer accounts, including but not limited to enforcing MFA for admin accounts and enhancing minimum password length and complexity. The timeline of that is still to be determined, so you will hear from us in the future.
Okay. And where can everyone go for additional help regarding the incident in question?
Yeah, if you have questions about the incident itself, we do have a direct line security-response@jumpcloud.com. But if you need assistance with performing any of the actions that we've recommended, please do just reach out to support@jumpcloud.com.
Great. All right. I know there have been a bunch of questions in the chat, so we're going to take a few questions. One question that we know of that is top of mind for everyone is if this is an ongoing incident or an ongoing investigation or both. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, and I do apologize for the wording there. For security incidents, as long as the investigation is continuing, we always classify it as an ongoing incident.
Great. I know JumpCloud is evaluating it, but would JumpCloud consider bumping up the timeline to support WebAuthn based on MFA for the admin portal? Scott, that may sound more like a roadmap thing that you want to talk about.
Yeah, there's a few questions I've seen fly by around similar vein of like, have you considered implementing thing A or thing B? I mean, the general answer is we take a lot of input on how we make our roadmaps and how we prioritize things. This event certainly is one of those inputs and has certainly surfaced some new considerations for us around both internally how we're able to do things like key management, but also visibility, WebAuthn. All these things are in that kind of category of items that we want to consider. We haven't made any specific roadmap decisions yet, but in the coming weeks, we will do that, and we'll use the normal channels to update folks on what those decisions are.
I've seen multiple comments, not just here, but other places about the one API key per account and maybe creating multiple API keys. Is that also under consideration? The granular permissions on API keys?
Yeah, it's all in that same bucket. So there, I saw the question about, can we have 0 API keys? Because that's currently a thing where we auto-generate them. Can I have granular access controls? Can I have multiple per account? All those things are under consideration at this point, but we haven't yet made the decisions around how we would prioritize those.
One quick clarification. While we definitely understand our customer base wants much deeper granularization of scoping of API keys, there are roughly 4 or potentially 5 layers now where an API key can be scoped down from, let's say, from the top level, which is super administrative, all the way down through read only. We would recommend, just as, again, great practice, review who's got what keys. The API key will correspond with the administrative account that it is basically bolted onto, and question, do you need that level of access for that API key? Everything else that I'm seeing, those are all call it in play in terms of shaping how this feature should play out, API keys at large. So stay tuned for that.
Great. And I know there are some new messages, but I'm still scrolling backwards, so I will come back. There were some about, were the targeted customers all related in any way? And do we know what level of actor yet? And that goes back to Bob's statement earlier about this is an ongoing investigation. We're not going to comment on this at this time.
There's one question I would like to address from Daniel, asking, do you know that the attacker's not any?
Yeah, that was my next one. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. But we should read it for people on YouTube.
Please
Do you
go
know
ahead.
that actor is not any more present in your environment and that no other customers can be affected?
Right. And with this, I'm going to say this is still an active and ongoing investigation. However, I would like to say that we have seen no evidence of customer impact outside of the one event that we discovered on July 5th at 3:35 UTC. And at this point in time, we have confidence to believe we're not going to expect to see any more.
To follow up on that, Ed is asking, when do you expect the investigation/incident to be completed?
The candid and honest answer is when we've looked under every single stone. But I don't want to commit to a timeline right now, but it's going to be measured in weeks, not days.
One of our MSPs is asking if there's an easy way to check for API key usage across tenants. Do we have an answer for that?
It's another roadmap adjacent thing, something we're actively investigating. I don't believe that's available as of this moment.
Right. You will not find that currently in event logging stream, i.e. through directory insights, but stay tuned. Obviously, with respect to the key itself, we'll give you an audit log, demonstrating the connected resource. It's another more difficult problem, but at least you'll know usage of it, and stay tuned for that.
Great. And as always, put those requests in, those feature requests in, and that way we'll be able to prioritize those. So if you haven't already, that is, please go ahead and put those in, because that helps our team know how many people are requesting those. Let's see. Did we have any others that I may have missed, Alexa?
Not at this time. That looks like we covered most of the frequently asked ones.
Okay. Well, with that, looks like we did hit right around the 15-minute mark, so that was perfect. Thank you all. Bob, Greg, Scott, thank you for joining us. We are going to, yeah, Bob.
Sorry, I also want to address that last question.
Oh, sure.
That is not something we're concerned about at the moment, Ryan.
Oh, Ryan's question was, why was the org connect key not disabled, asked to be rotated when the API and SCIM SSO tokens keys were? So, yeah, thank you. And if there are additional questions, we will pull those and, to get those back to Bob and the team, and, make sure those get answered in the community or in our next communication out to folks, so that, we've got, make sure we're keeping in communication, and we are, doing our best to communicate with you all. We want to reassure you of that. It's a balance between making sure that we're doing our investigations and doing what we can and keeping you informed, but at the same time, we have to do things we're following our incident response because we have one and we're following that. And we want to be transparent and communicate with you, but we also have to do things and follow our plan. So please bear with us. We are wanting to communicate, but we have to, do our due diligence and everything too. So
Becky, before we sign off, let me reinforce a couple of things. One, we deeply appreciate the relationship with our customers. This is singularly the most important thing, especially for folks who've been around like the last 10 years building this company and these relationships. We're taking these actions, which is just an open public forum, to get in front of anything. We do not want you or any of our customers like living in fear. And that is, if we can provide you in the limits of what we can offer right now, given that this is an active investigation and we're working with our law enforcement and our incident response partners, this is what we feel we need to do in this moment. And we'll do more. If you have any activity going on that you're ever suspicious about, security-response@jumpcloud.com is an email address you may use. But we're pretty easy to get in touch with, as you know. So this is incredibly important for us to make sure you're good. We cherish this relationship, and we appreciate the support too. So yeah, we'll sign off and keep the information coming back into us.
yeah. And as always, you can find me and Alexa and Tom and Urvashi in the Slack lounge and on all of our community sites. So if you can't remember any of those email addresses or anything like that, you can always reach out to us or find us here weekly on the IT Hour. We are here to do what we can to keep in close contact with you all. We really are. So, and as you see, our executives are here as well. And we love that they are willing to come on the IT Hour and talk to everyone and just be here to answer questions. So thank you all very much for joining us. We're going to go back to our normal schedule and bring on Lindsey and Sam and talk about AD integrations. So fun stuff. All right. Thank you all for joining us. And they're going to jump off stage now and go do their thing. All right. Thank you all. Okay. Now, Alexa, are you able to find Sam and Lindsey waiting in the wings and bring them online?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a second.
Right. And we figured that would take a little while today. So we are not going to do like the normal community and meetup updates. And because we wanted to leave plenty of time to, do all of this other stuff. It was just, we wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time to answer everyone's questions. Thank you all for your patience and everything while we get Lindsey and Sam. And they're some of our favorite guests, by the way. They're always awesome. Hey, Lindsey. Yay. Now I've got to go find my other sheet that we normally do. Sam, you guys are here. Yay.
Here.
All right.
So happy to be here.
Now we can
Relax a little bit.
yeah, a little bit tense, but now we can relax a little bit and do our normal thing. So welcome back.
Yes.
Glad to have you back.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it when it's the all-female panel. Yay.
Yeah. I know. Kick those guys out and let's go back to the all women
Let's
panel.
talk AD. Who doesn't love talking about AD?
Absolutely. All right. And there's a lot going on around AD integrations, right? There's quite a
Yes.
bit, like recent and then upcoming as well. So we're going to talk about a little bit of both of those. All right. So Since we have a ton of new people on the IT hour today, so in fact, I never introduced myself. I just jumped right in, but we wanted to get Bob on here. So for those of you who don't know, Alexa and I run community and social and meetups and everything at Jump Cloud, and Urvashi is waiting in the wings, and she's our new technical champion. So still all women. Urvashi, if you want to come back on, you're welcome to as well. And we have Sam and Lindsay. Do you all want to introduce yourself to all the new people and talk a little bit about what you do at Jump Cloud?
Sure thing. So hi, I'm Lindsay, and I'm in one of the old school Jump Cloudians. I've been with Jump Cloud for 7 years and watched this product and this company evolve quite a bit. It's been a wild ride. And so today I come to you as a product leader for our directory team of product managers. And what is directory? Directory is think of our ecosystem, how we connect to other directories, how we connect to applications, as well as how we manage the life cycle of our users. That's really the simple description of what directory entails today. And I'm going to hand things over to Sam.
Hi all, I am Sam Morgan. I've been with Jump Cloud for 2.5 years now, and my focus has been integration since I started. And I started off with SCIM, then got to SSO, then added cloud directories, and now I'm back to just focused on cloud directories and our cloud directories. Those are our HR integrations, Active Directory integration, which we will lead off talking about today, M365 Azure AD, Google Workspace, and when we use LDAP to connect user information to other systems. So that all falls under my purview, but I can speak to the other stuff as well, should we need to. So happy to be here. Thanks, Becky and Alexa.
Yeah, that's great. All right. So where would you like to start today? Because we're gonna let you loose and let you talk wherever you want to start.
All right. Lindsay, you want me to drive?
Sounds good.
All right. So let me see. Make sure I get the
right deck.
Okay. Step 1 done. All right. There we go. Oop, we did that. Moving on.
So,
yeah, I was going to say, I'll do the intro and then I'll hand it over to you. All right. So, yeah, you can tell we practice this a lot. So today we are going to start off just taking a step back and let's talk about Jump Cloud as an open directory platform and, digging in a little bit more into what Lindsay talked about as far as our directory. And then we'll spend a good chunk of time talking about Jump Cloud Active Directory and all the exciting things we have going on there, talk about what it is, how it's used, and then get into what we've released and what's about to be released. And then if we have time, I'll talk about other directory integration news because there's been some fun and interesting things that we've released recently along the way. And then if we still have a little bit of time, I'll do a demo of the domain support there. I recorded it though, just because I wasn't sure how we were going to do it time. Oops. Dog bark, sorry.
No worries. No
right.
worries. We'll pretend that was Rob in the background. He's trying to make noise.
Barking. Because
Yeah.
he's so excited. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Lindsay.
Yes. So this slide may look familiar if you've been to any of our roadmap webinars or things of that nature. But basically, I wanted to ground us all on, the Open Directory platform and the promise that we see within that strategy. Essentially, Jump Cloud allows you to connect any upstream source of user identities, right? So we have the HRIS, both generic capabilities as well as the catalog that we're building out. And Sam will share a little bit about additional integrations that we're trying to pre-build for you to make things simpler. And even some of the names we support today, like Workday, we may be doing more to enhance. But the idea is wherever your user is created and actively maintained, you're going to be able to bring that user into Jump Cloud. We have real-time information flowing in to keep the identities up to date in Gem Cloud. And that holds true for our directories as well. You can see our main directories listed there on the left, including Active Directory, which is a special beast we'll be talking more about. But the beauty of this is that Gem Cloud can serve as a way of unifying the management or centralizing the management of all of these identities, their entitlements. So maybe you do, say you're acquiring a new organization and they have another IDP already in place. We hope to make that simpler. Or you already have a directory in place that you're using for a lot of things and you want to extend it using Gem Cloud. We allow that. Sam, if you can go ahead and click, part of, bringing those identities into Gem Cloud means that you can then extend that identity to so many more resources. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but we've got the device management, we've got apps, your infrastructure and your networks, including our Radius LDAP. And that includes provisioning as well as authentication, single sign-on to many of these endpoints, and you can apply all of your MFA or conditional access as well. So if we can go ahead and move along, Sam. Again, actually kind of spoke to this already. It's centralized. This provides you the ability to centralize all of that access control to these various resources. And let's go ahead and move forward. User verification and authorization. Think of how creating this flexibility within your environment could allow you to either, take advantage of Gem Cloud as a central authorization mechanism, but also the ability to layer on different factors using Gem Cloud. And one thing I do want to call out here, that's one of the big evolutions we spoke about in the webinar recently, but we have this, consumption of identities from directories, and then we can also push them down to our directories. We can authenticate SSO back into those directories, but one of the missing pieces in that has been the ability to actually SSO into Gem Cloud should you have another IDP in place. And again, that comes in handy, particularly with perhaps mergers or acquisitions where you're trying to bridge different ecosystems together. So I just wanted to call that out. Not a main topic for today. We will be talking more. I think we have another IT hour session where we'll be speaking very specifically about federation. So stay tuned for that if you have interest. And Sam, I think it's time for us to move on into the specifics. I know everybody's most interested in this.
All right, well, 7-second pause. Any questions for Lindsey before I move in?
I haven't seen any yet.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we kind of been a little off topic in the chat talking
All
about
good.
music that really makes you work hard when you need to focus. But yes, we are ready to talk about this integration. So go forth, and we'll jump in and call out any questions that we have.
Cool. All right, so let's get in. Active Directory Integration, or ADI. So what is it? Our Active Directory integration allows you to sync user and group information between Gem Cloud and on, or in the case of AWS hosted AD, off-prem Active Directory domain services, are also known as AD. And we allow you to do that in flexible configurations, and we provide that flexibility so we can support a variety of use cases from the extension of or migration away from AD. So we can either play nice and coexist for a short or long period of time, or help you move away just depending on what you need and what value we can provide inside your ecosystem. So what are the use cases? So there's a variety of use cases that we typically see when we talk to prospects and customers and people out is, one case is I have Active Directory and I want to extend it to to the cloud, and I want to support a mixed OS device fleet. And so, that's where we're kind of partnering with them, but AD stays your authority. Then we have the case where I have HR in the mix, and maybe it's harder to integrate HR into AD directly, but you can integrate that much more easily to JumCloud, and then we can sync the information, but AD still stays your authority, but it's extended onto still some of those cloud resources or all those cloud resources. Then the other thing is, I really want to move towards the cloud, but Active Directory has a really key part of my ecosystem. So I have some legacy apps that only exist in AD that we can't get rid of, that are business critical, and I really need them to stay here, but I really only want to use AD for that really small subset of cases, and I want to do everything else in the cloud and then manage everything else from there. So we can do that. So that's where more Active Directory acting as like an application that we provision to and manage. And then we have the case of I'm ready to make the move. I think somebody said this is like Alcoholics Anonymous, AD Anonymous. I've been off of AD for 2 years. So for those people that want to make that and can make that move within their business organization, we can support that as well. So those are the variety of use cases that we have. And to support those use cases, really, we support a variety of mixed configurations to allow that to happen. So you have the ability to specify who is your directory authority, meaning who and where do you manage your users and groups, from where and to where do you manage those users and groups. Who is your password authority? Is that JumCloud or is it Active Directory? And which way do you want to sync this information? Do you want to go one way from AD to JumCloud, from JumCloud to AD, or do you want it to go both ways? And then, how do you want to, and who do you want to be the authority, or do you want both to act? To have equal footing in those regards. So really that's what our Active Directory integration, the intention of it is to do. And so, we've got some feedback that there are some areas that need some help with regard to our Active Directory integration. So we are right now actively investing in making that experience better and to add even more flexibility and configurability within the Active Directory integration and how we allow configuration and where things can be done. And over time, I'll be back, because this what I'm sharing today is just kind of what's coming in the near term, what has come and what's coming in the near term. But there's a lot more that we have planned that I would be excited to share with you along the way. So that's a little bit of background about Active Directory integration for those that don't know it, or an acknowledgement for those that do. And then, so what are the recent releases that we've done? So we previously, if you read our documentation, we're like, we only support a single domain. That is no longer true. So if you go read our documentation today, we actually say we now support multi-domains, single forest environments, Active Directory environments. And so we have all of our documents updated to tell you how to go about doing that. So the real key there is when you create that security group needed by the JumCloud Active Directory integration, it just needs to be unique across your different domains. And then it should work like it did or does in the single domain world. The other thing we found there was a bug. So if you had both the import agent and the sync agent, so you had a bidirectional setup going, we were locking down too many attributes. So you actually couldn't update these attributes within JumCloud. They were locked down. They were, you couldn't update in the admin portal, you can update in the user portal. So that all has been changed. So you can now update those. The big question is, well, do they sync? Hold tight, not yet, but you can at least update them in JumCloud today, which you could not do before. Then what do we have coming? So right now, we don't officially support Windows Server 2022. The import flow works just fine. There's some adjustments we need to make to the sync agent to allow, from JumCloud to AD to, there's a bug in there that we need to address. So we will get that addressed, and we will then officially be able to support, say on all of our site, we officially support Server 2022. The other thing we hear is that it can be a heavy lift if you have to install the agents on a domain controller. Some organizations don't have access, they have really tight controls, they don't want to. And so what we're doing is we're gonna allow more flexibility with where the agent can be installed. So we currently support them being installed on the domain controllers. Moving forward, we will allow those agents to be installed on member servers or within your Active Directory domain. So that was a big ask, and that helps with like proof of concepts. That helps with just organizations have really tight restrictions or just prefer not to have anything installed on their domain controller unless there's a really key integration. So that's what will be coming in the near term. Other things along with that is what we right now, our import agent handles both user and group syncing as well as password syncing from Active Directory to JumCloud. And we want to take those things, separation of responsibilities, because Microsoft requires that if you're going to do a real-time sync of password information, that has to be installed on the domain controller. So we want to minimize what needs to be installed on the domain controller and give you flexibility to say, I do or I don't want that. And we're also going to add the ability to do delegated password login from the user portal to Active Directory. So let's say I don't necessarily want to sync the password, but I do want my users to use their Active Directory password to log into the admin portal. We'll also be adding the capability. So again, all of this is to say is how do we give you the most flexibility we can? And there could be even cases where I don't want passwords to sync. We don't hear that a lot, but there could be a reason for that. And so we want to give you the ability to make those decisions and configure the integration to support what your use case is and what the business needs that you have are. So like I said, there's a lot more to come that we have on the roadmap. And after we finish one set of work, we say, is the next thing that we had planned really the most important thing, or do we need to shuffle some things? Which is why I'm not going too far in. Stay tuned to our webinars that talk about the roadmap because we'll give you insight there. But I just wanted to give you like what can you expect in the next couple of months with regards to Active Directory integration. And again, more to come after that. So I saw tons of chat messages flying through, which I did not pay attention to. So let's take a pause and
I think we should do Kelly's. Is there a documented method for applying profanity to AD, or is that officially unsupported?
I think we should get that going. I think we should just have a community channel just about that, Becky.
Really great updates on ADI. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Tony.
I love that. Unfortunately, most of the chat that went by was about coffee or chocolatey puns and things like that, and oohs and ahs over Lindsay's coworker. Okay, here's a real question about server AD users. If a user exists already in JumCloud, can they be pushed up to an AD server or synced with an existing AD user for JumCloud to be in charge of the password?
So the integration does allow us to take over management. So either way, depending on what you have configured, if the user is coming from AD and they were manually created in JumCloud and we match them on their email address, then yes, then that flow will take over. If you have bidirectional sync, similarly, if you have a user in JumCloud, you sync them from JumCloud to AD, we find a match, we don't create a duplicate, we basically just start updating the existing user there. And similarly, if a user comes from AD to JumCloud and doesn't exist, we will create them. Or if a user comes from JumCloud to AD, similar, we will create them. So yes, to all of the things. And then you can decide who's your password authority. So if you only have your import in, AD is your authority, full stop. You get that externally managed. If you have both import and sync installed, you can make that determination yourself. We give more flexibility in that regard. Little teaser for the future is we're looking to make that a more explicit setting where you say that, yea, verily, I tell you that AD is my password authority, or yea, verily, I tell you that JumCloud is my password authority, or I'm okay with either. So you will have the ability to make that call very explicitly. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to talk about future roadmap, but there you have it.
Well, disclaimer: roadmap may change.
Roadmap.
These are future-looking statements, and roadmap may change. So
yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Becky. I knew that.
Working on API keys. Who knows? But one thing I do want to kind of pile on to what Sam has shared is, she's talked about this flexibility. A lot of the friction points that we hear about today, things like how we message end users around password management, depending on what agents are installed, those sorts of nuances may not be the headline of what we've spoken about, but there are benefits to the actual end user experiences when you have this configuration flexibility. So say you want JumpCloud to serve as your password authority, as your master, and you just want JumpCloud, pushing users to AD. Today, you have to have both agents, and there are complexities around how you message end users to make sure their password is actively managed. So those are some of the perks that come along with kind of the unspoken perks of some of the changes that we're making with those agents living on the member servers and having the ability to leverage them independently is actually hopefully going to make a big difference if you're experiencing any of those friction points.
Yeah, that's a great call because before I used to go through hoops to make AD or to make JumpCloud your authority. We are going to make that better. That is part of these changes that you see. So those who are really wanting AD sync only, stay tuned, please.
Ooh, I'm sure that makes people very happy. Sammy asks, is there a possibility to integrate UCS Univention IAM with JumpCloud?
I'm not sure I'm familiar with it.
I'm not sure I am either. We may have to get
We'll take that offline.
Yeah. Alexa, can you capture that real quick? We'll have to do a little bit of, unless Sammy, you want to give a little bit more context around that in the chat, that would be good too. And then we're arguing over whether Microsoft documentation or Apple documentation is worse. So that's a losing battle, y'all.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they have battle scars for both. So
indeed. All right. So Becky, how are we doing on time? Can I keep
documentation,
going, or do we need to?
Oh, yeah. A new contender.
Oh yes. Oracle.
All right. So other directory. Yes, Oracle. So other directory integration news. Do you have more for us?
I do. I'm so excited. I have so much to share.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. So I said I am responsible for our directory, so I'm going to take every opportunity they have to talk about other things as well. So we just recently added 3 new integrations to our HR integrations list. So Deal and Factorial had customers who really wanted to be able to sync information from their HRIS platform to JumpCloud. And so they, Deal and Factorial, both built integrations to us to be able to sync user information in more of a real-time nature and as changes occur. So Deal right now, it's a manual sync or it happens nightly. And Factorial right now, it's a manual push, but they're looking to do more automation around that. And then we added Paylocity, where we built the integration so that you can pool your identity. Right now, it's new users only. But one of the things we're looking at is adding the flexibility to be able to pull updates similar to what you do with our custom API or some of our other integrations like Personio, able to schedule and pull updates. So that is what's up. And one more. All right. So we also added the functionality to be able to set specific domains for your Cloud Directory integrations, and specifically by Cloud Directory integrations, I'm talking about Google Workspace and Azure Active Directory or M365. So what that means is a user can have a single identity in JumpCloud, and then we can basically transform that identity to be able to log in to these various instances of Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 based on configurations that you've put in place, so that that user gets transformed with their identity to the right domain to be able to have access to all of those. And this avoids having to create multiple identities, having to have us requiring multiple email fields to be able to make that happen. And so this is the result, the outcome And then a little bit more specific around, how you do that. So within the configuration, there's a new section called domains. So Google Workspace domain and 365 Azure AD domains. And in there, you click the add domain button. And again, if we had time, I can show. Becky, do we have time? I can just run through a quick.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. All right. I'll just do the video. It's easier to show you. So I'm going to. Can I? Yes. I was like, did it save? Can you see this? Yes. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to play this video. So I'm in my M365.
Hang on.
You're not seeing it?
We are still seeing your.
Okay, let me stop sharing and try and share a video and see if that.
And while you do that, Kelly had a clarification question. Is this now or is this coming?
This integration for M365 and Google?
I think that's what she was referring to.
So Kelly, for M365, it is live in production. Google, we have it in early access, but if you need this, reach out to me and I would be happy to get it enabled for you. Same goes to anybody else. So there's some directory insights events that we're wrapping up, and but yeah, we've had a couple of big customers already test it out. It's working great. So yes, we can turn it on. But let me see if I can figure out how do I stop sharing? That's the big question. There we go. Stop sharing at the top. Yep. Yeah, got it. And then I don't know if this is going to work. Maybe I can't share the demo. Maybe I just have to go back to the slides because it's not picking up my. Yes, is this it? Let me see. Can you see this video?
Yes.
Yes. Success. Okay. Great. All right. So I'm in my M365 Cloud Directory sync integration configuration in Jump Cloud. So Cloud Directories, M365. And there's a new section, right, called Add Domain. So I've added domain. And what we do is we query that instance to get the list of domains that we have. And then we can choose which domains we want. And so I'm going to pause here. We've done things a little bit differently. So we let you set a default, and we also let you have an allow list. And so the way it's going to work is if for any domain that's configured, as long as your user email matches, we'll send it with that email address. If the user's email doesn't match any of those, we will overwrite you. We will create a new email address or identity for that user based on whatever you've set as your default. So that's what this, let me scroll back, this little message is telling you is like, okay, so if you use this as a default, anytime we find that the user's email doesn't match this default or one of the ones in your list, we will go ahead and transform that or change that into and use the identity with whatever you've defined as your default domain for this integration from JoCloud. So then I say yes, enable, off we go. And I save that integration just to show you what that experience looked like when you come back. I go back in, and then you can see I have this all set up. And if I want to edit it, I can make changes along the way. And right, so typical editing capability. And then now comes the fun stuff. So now if I go to my users and I choose somebody that you can see who I've added, right? So I've added some people with and some people without the email addresses that I've defined, or the domains I've defined for this integration. And so if I go ahead and choose a couple more and go, so JC test 3 is my default or one of my allowed ones. If I come in here, you can see that there's that person with an untranslated email. And then I go look for my next one. You can see they now have been created with the default domain that I've set. So yeah. So Andy had the jc.com as the domain, and inside this instance, it has the jc3 testdomain.com. So that's what we released for M365, and we'll be releasing for Google here shortly. I will stop sharing. questions. That's all I had, Becky.
Woohoo. All right. So let me go back and see. I think a lot of them, Lindsay, I think you answered some things in the chat there. So
Yeah, there's a question about OUs, and I yes, Ryan Bacon.
Right.
We want all the things. As many of you know, we have a partnership with Google. So just again, sprinkling some teaser out there. Like you could see us evolving our integration with Google later this year into next year, and OUs are one of the things on the radar. But I'm gonna say it again, Becky. Feature requests, because this is an area where we will be doing some evaluation of what we want to take on to make that integration really hum.
yeah, that's really important. Those feature requests, when you do them, what it does is it tells us how many individual accounts are asking for them, and it just helps us prioritize, right? So I know it can be a little bit onerous to do that, a little bit of a pain, but when we have 100 people request it versus 5, that tells us that that's more in demand. So it really does help us. So please do that so that we know that more people do it. Except you, Ryan. You said you weren't gonna. You said you were going to be quiet, and you haven't been. So listen here. I told you I have a ban hammer. I'll kick
We
you
have a
out.
filter
No, I
for
won't.
no. I'm kidding. We have a
For
star.
those of you that don't know, Ryan works with us, and we're just giving him a hard time because we love him, and he is he's one of our people who uses our product every day, and he is really good at his job, and we absolutely love him, and we don't want to I said I wouldn't bug you about the normal things he says.
That's true. That is what he said.
And we want to be very careful not to tick him off because he holds the keys, and we love you, Ryan. Never ever, well, I'm preaching to the choir, right? Never ever tick off your IT folks, because that is very bad news. As Kelly says, use your powers for good, y'all. So wait, you work with someone who has a last name of Bacon? How many degrees? Oh, Rob.
Oh, boy.
Boo. Boo. Let's see. Oh, Kelly wants to know, Sam, how can I follow up for more info? Kelly.
How do we know? Like, can I just cover? Yeah.
Yeah, Kelly, just ping me, and I'll get you in touch with Sam, and we'll make sure that you are taken care of. I think she might be just a little excited that you told her that you'll get her hooked up. So yeah, we will get you two connected. Rob's in fully chaotic neutral mode today, so he's not going to use his powers for good, as he says in the chat. And Tony says Ryan makes the best dog food. Dog food, because we eat our own dog food. Okay, unrelated to today's meeting, what's the roadmap look like on the dynamic groups? Keith is asking, and he says he knows it's in EA.
It is still in EA. I can give you unofficial updates. No. So we are getting very, very close. Like, we can taste it, but we are actually going to be bringing another EA forward for dynamic device groups. So right now the EA is user group focused. So we're going to bring the device EA out, and then we will be advancing both into, we're hoping to get to a GA for them, I believe. Don't quote me on this because I don't have Jira pulled up, but I feel like it's an early August thing that you should see both user and system or device. You can tell how long I've been with JumpCloud when I call it systems. Devices used to be called systems in our UI, and somehow it's still ingrained. But anyway, user and device groups coming forward in August-ish.
People are asking about being in the EAs in the comments, and I just want to reiterate, Lindsay, we really should make sure that we are mentioning betas and EAs in the community and letting
Yes.
people know that they're open so they can sign up for them.
Yes.
So Keith, James, ping me in the Slack lounge, and I will send over a note that y'all want to be in those EAs for dynamic groups. So we'll try to get you hooked up, and ping me and send me your org IDs.
Yep. And beyond just bringing dynamic groups forward, we already have received input around additional operators or additional attributes, and GA will carry some additional attribute support for, I think we're including things like user state. So say you want to only have active users in a group. We're introducing a few more attributes, but there will be, I know that's on the radar as enhancements that we will want to make even beyond GA to the dynamic group capabilities. So know that it's an area that we'll continue investing in.
Okay. I'm seeing my number count go up on Slack. So I think they've already pinged me. So y'all are on it. All right. I think so. I probably got messages from Kelly, James, and Keith already. So good job, y'all. And we're just a couple minutes out. So were there any last things you wanted to say besides we need to have you all back on a more regular basis? I know that it's always fun to have you both on. We just love it.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you for making it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, no news today. We knew that we wouldn't have time for IT news because of just the nature of what we were doing today. So with that, happy first Friday of July. Wow. Summer is in full force. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you next week where we're going to talk about our IT SME trends report. And I think Chase is going to be joining us to talk about that. And we look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope you have something fun planned. And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye all.